here at Adisawe Kanda, and also come to you live on KESMI 107.1 FM in Tamale. Coming up this morning, the government suspend taxes on margins in fuel price build-up to last 4 weeks and also cancel the allocation of fuels to ministers.
The finance and energy ministers should take immediate steps to reduce the price of fuel.
Also, search rescue efforts underway on the Volta Lake after a boat capsized, killing 9 people.
The information that we have received is that none of them actually was wearing a life jacket, and the 9 bodies have been retrieved.
Much later in this bulletin, the Attorney General files a case at the Apex Court seeking to stop the Office of the Special Prosecutor from prosecuting cases without authorization from the Attorney General.
The whole parliament will not just go and then parade, congregate and pass a law without necessarily taking a first look at the constitution.
I am Enyonam Haligah. Details of our headlines and other stories. Please stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. Now, we're on to a first story where government has announced measures to cushion Ghanaians following increased fuel prices caused by the Middle East disturbances. An emergency cabinet meeting has decided that the suspension of some taxes and margins in fuel price build-up to last 4 weeks after review. Additionally, all ministers and senior government appointees are to adhere strictly to the President's directive on cancellation of fuel allocation and allowances. Government spokesperson Felix Kwakye announced this on Thursday yesterday.
So the first directive that Cabinet has issued is that the finance and energy ministers should take immediate steps to reduce the price of fuel through the removal of some taxes and margins on fuel, effective the next pricing window, which is about a week from today. And this is supposed to be done as soon as possible. Second, the transport minister has been instructed by cabinet to ensure expedited deployment of these buses in high traffic corridors to ensure that it alleviates any difficulties that may have arisen out of the recent fuel price increases.
That was government's spokesperson and Minister for Communication, Felix Kwakye. Now, 9 bodies have been retrieved as the search continues for the remaining 7 passengers after a boat carrying 16 people capsized on the Volta Lake. The victims were reportedly traveling from Prang in the Bono East region to the central Gonja district of the Savannah region. The incident occurred on Wednesday, April 8, between Adavekbe and Sikakbe in the central Gonja district. All the deceased, who were women and children, were traveling on a flying boat. Savannah Regional Minister Salisu Bey Array, who spoke on TV3's News 360, said no passengers were wearing the life jackets.
The information that we have received is that none of them actually was wearing a life jacket, and the 9 bodies have been retrieved by the joint operations of the security and local people who were able to dive and retrieve the bodies and some of the items they were carrying. It is quite a sad issue, and the constituency and district where this boat capsized is actually around the East Gonja district, but that destination was to a community called Congo in the central Gonja district.
Rather a very troubling story there, but we'll update you as and when the rest of the bodies are found due to the rescue efforts by our security agencies. Now, away from that, the Attorney General has filed argument at the Supreme Court seeking a declaration of Section 4 Clause 2 of the Office of the Special Prosecutor Act is constitutional and should be struck down. Section 4 Clause 2 mandates that the Attorney General must authorize the Office of the Special Prosecutor to initiate and conducts prosecutions of corruption-related offences. But a statement of case filed on Wednesday by the AG accused that the OSP has since 2018 been investigating and prosecuting such offences without the Attorney General's authorization. Meanwhile, constitutional lawyer John Quayson has been explaining the action of the Attorney General.
Now you see, a whole government, a whole parliament will not just go and then parade, congregate, and pass a law or an act without necessarily taking a first look at the constitution before them. You know, parliament is full of lawyers. The current AG, Dr. Ayini himself, was even part of the people who passed this particular act. I have said, I think, on your platform and before, that but for the one-on-one personal issues involving the AG's department or its functionaries, and then the OSP and its functionaries, all these things are matters that could have been resolved internally.
That was a constitutional lawyer, John Quayson, there. Now, the National Identification Authority Division of the Public Service Workers Union has expressed grave concerns over delays in the processing and transmission of staff migration reports, warning of a possible industrial crisis if the situation is not resolved immediately. The staff further accused the Minister and Ministry for Finance for not taking any definitive action to approve and transmit same to the Controller and Accountants General.
We think that the management, we've worked consistently with them, together with the mother union, and we can confirm that they have demonstrated enough commitment. But the commitment of the management is not being complemented by the efforts of Ministry of Finance, because they have done consistent follow-ups at the Ministry of Finance. The union, we have also done same almost every week. We are always there to check and confirm that things are moving. But we realized that there was no serious effort or action taken on our documents ever since they got to the Ministry of Finance. And this, for us, we think it is utterly unacceptable and we cannot take it.
Some other stories, as the Drivers and Vehicles Licensing Authority says Voxy vehicles, unlike other vehicles, were registered after passing medical and mechanical testing. Responding to concerns from the National Road Safety Authority, DVLA's Public Relations Officer, Stephen Atu, stressed the commercial registration does not automatically permit long-distance operations.
So we must take sentiments of individuals have invested their money into bringing in these vehicles, but they should understand the fact that using a vehicle commercial does not necessarily mean that it only becomes commercial if you drive on a long distance. People drive taxis in Ghana, Accra, in Kumasi, Takrady, who they drive within town, and driving a long distance comes with it a higher risk of fatigue and accident as against driving intra-city. And so you may want to coup your money at a certain speed, but if the system says we won't allow, because lives are at stake.
That was the Public Relations Officer for the Drivers and Vehicle Licensing Authority, Stephen Atu, there. And finally, before we go, the chairman of the Global Fund Country Coordinating Mechanism has described an unfortunate incident that continues to pile up the family planning commodities at the country's sport since 2024. His comments followed renewed concerns by the Ghana CSO platform on the sustainable development goals over a critical shortage of family planning supplies nationwide. Us to the end of the morning news here on 3FM 92.7. For more news, please check our website at 3news.com. I am Enyonam Haligah. Business News with Michael Bodu is up next.